Hi there, this is Jonathan Johnson with American Law Stars, and you're watching me on social media. This particular talk will be about social media addiction, something that all of us have probably acquired in the last few years, but it's been particularly harmful to younger people who have particularly been overexposed to social media during the COVID crisis and are having trouble adapting to the impact of social media on their brains. The fundamental nature of the case is this: social media is designed and engineered to make profit for the social media companies. And of course, they're the biggest names that we all know. There's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and I'm sure there's a couple of others that escape me for the moment. But these are the things that young people spend half of their daily conscious hours looking at. The reason they look at it so much is because those products are designed to keep their attention. They are created by engineers who study data to see how they can keep all of your attention. The ultimate goal of every social media company is to keep you on their service 24 hours a day so they can extract as much profit from you as possible. And they do this by studying the dopamine mechanisms in the brain, which are the same exact mechanisms which are involved in drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and any other kind of addiction. Addiction is a result of people seeking a dopamine response in their brain. And these brilliant engineers at these software companies have engineered their products to be addictive. And of course, every company selling any product wants that product to be addictive to its customers, because the more of that product they can sell to you, the more money they make. Here we have a population of young people who are developing, their brains are developing, and they don't have the natural defenses that older people have to these type of dopamine responses. Older people's brains who are already fully developed seem less susceptible to these impacts. If you grew up before social media existed and your brain's already fully developed, you are not going to be as vulnerable to this technology. Just about everyone knows teenagers during COVID could not do their normal social engagement, who were isolated, and as a result of that, they turned to social media as a substitute for human interaction. And the consequence of that was way too much social media for developing brains to handle. And as a consequence, we've seen a lot of elevation in problems, which include suicide and suicide attempts, eating disorders, anxiety disorders, emotional problems of all types, kids who have social interaction problems, kids who just want to withdraw, and it's affected a huge percentage of the teenage population. Currently, there are 42 state attorney generals who have filed an action in California, and they particularly targeted Facebook and Instagram, saying that those two companies have created a dangerous product and they should be held liable for the damages to the states. This is a claim by the states to recover money the states have expended on treating these populations, which is exactly the same theory they did with the opioid cases. The opioid manufacturers had, tens of thousands of people addicted to opioids, and the state attorneys general sued the manufacturers and made them pay hundreds of millions of dollars out to the states to deal with the cost of treating the opioid addicts. So they're following that same playmat, try and recover damages, which the state is basically money states have spent providing medical treatment or care to people who have the consequences of social media addiction. Now, separately, a class action case has been filed against the big social media companies, which will probably include whichever one you're watching me on. The theory is that if you're a young person and you have spent more than 3 hours a day on these social media products and have experienced the correlated emotional problems, there's a case pending for that right now to show that they've intentionally designed a product without disclosing the hazards or warning about the hazards, that if you use this product more than a certain amount of time, you could be damaged by it. It could put your life at risk or otherwise have negative consequences. One other thing I'll add that's just an interesting aside: TikTok comes from China. But in China, where TikTok was developed, they are only allowed to broadcast educational content on TikTok. That's all they have, is educational content. And if you're a young person, your daily use of that site is very, very limited. I think it's 30 minutes or less per day that you're allowed to use it. So that shows you, at least in the case of TikTok, that the creators of that product for their own population seemed to understand that it was dangerous or could create bad effects, and they've severely limited its exposure to their young population. We here in America, the land of the free, think our kids should take every risk in the world, and if some things don't work out well, then we'll deal with it later. But the purpose of the lawsuit is to seek compensation for those who have been injured or damaged by that. And if you have a claim that you feel would be related to that, feel free to call us. We'd be happy to give you a free consult. We know many people who've been affected by this ourselves. You could reach us at 404-888-0500. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and follow us, and leave a comment. And if you do, we'll try to respond to you. Thanks very much.